Welcome back to Axiom. Okay, let's start with a small rules correction. What I said in the previous video, this move is actually legal. So you can move laterally while remaining in a single plane. It's perfectly normal. I said otherwise, and let's consider that my personal variant of the game. Now, the reason I keep making that mistake is because I keep missing that tiny arrow going downwards. Although, you know, when you look at this arrow going downwards, you may be asking yourself this question: can I move scepters around the bottom of the playing field? And the answer is no, not in this variant. But if you look up online, there are pictures of Axiom played on a turntable with holes in the bottom, so that you can put scepters in the underside and move around the underside too, which I guess makes it a completely different game, and needing a completely different starting position. So yeah, Axiom is a flexible game. You can adjust the rules and it doesn't fall apart. My mistaken rule, the rule with moving around the bottom, it all works. Anyway, we've been playing the game, teams of 4 players, and this is how they started. This is the first move. The grey is attacking, and the idea is obviously to move back onto one of those 2 grey cubes and eliminate the orange cube. But orange found the way to counter this by moving here. Now orange controls these grey cubes, and if a grey scepter enters them, it's going to be captured and lose the game. But still, that orange scepter in the corner there is kind of alone and isolated. So grey isolates the scepter even further by placing this cube on top here. And as you can see, it reveals a dome, so that the only possible move for orange is diagonal in this case. And they can't do it because it's going to be dangerous. So instead, orange placed this cube like this around the bottom, which lets orange scepter potentially move on the other side of the grey area and attack that scepter. Grey doesn't like that, so they decided to preemptively move that grey scepter down, which not only prevents the previous plan of orange from working, but also doesn't let orange capture the grey cube, because if they enter that orange cube, it will be captured. They will be captured, their scepter. And they'll lose. But orange breaks out of the corner and ends up here, which is, by the way, a check. It can move laterally to the left and potentially eliminate the grey scepter. That's a problem for grey, so grey counters it by returning this cube back to its starting position, but slightly differently. Now the dome is blocking the way for orange. That's also a problem for orange, because as you can see on top there, the grey scepter can move onto that cube and win the game. So orange need to cover their butt really quickly, which they do by using that cube they had moved already and putting it up top. So everything is looking good for orange and for grey. In fact, grey finally does what they set out to do from the very first turn of the game. They move there and they eliminate the orange cube. First blood. Yeah, so the situation doesn't look too good for orange, because they've just lost a piece. However, orange responds by taking this particular cube, not any other cube, but this particular cube, and moving it all the way to the top of that grey cube. And this is going to be a problem for grey, because now grey don't have any freely movable cubes, but grey can attack with 2 scepters, with both scepters. Because you see that orange scepter, if you look on the other side of it, well, it actually has an open hole in its cube right there. So the game is going. They made 10 turns. Actually, they made 11. The next grey turn is doing exactly what I'm showing. It's threatening that orange scepter from behind. The game is not over yet, but grey is in a very tricky situation. Because if they have to move a scepter, well, they have to move a scepter. They can't waste their turn by moving a cube.